There we go. Good evening. Welcome to the Red Raven Coaches Show here live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. Shay Neal, and I appreciate Wendy's for having us. As always, we're joined now by head coach Tony Turner of the Lady Ravens as we get the program started. And, Coach, it's been a couple weird weeks. You played Hutch on a Thursday night a couple weeks ago, and then you played Butler on a Thursday night. And it's been kind of out of routine for the last couple weeks, but now finally able to kind of get a little bit back to normal this week, and excited to talk about back-to-back wins for your program.
Yeah, we can finally get back on track, and before it was like, are we going to play or not play, or you know what I mean? Who to prepare for, or all that. But no, we're definitely excited to kind of get back to a normal schedule.
And what a turnaround! Where your game at Nellis Hall against the Butler Grizzlies last week, 6 inches of snow outside and slick roads, and wondering, having to give out free hot chocolate to get people in the door. To yesterday, the doors were propped open because of how nice it was outside as the teams were warming up. So quite the 6-7 day turnaround there, and I know the 60s are welcome here in Coffeyville.
Oh, they definitely are. It's really nice out today, and I even thought about going to hit some golf balls. I say, nah, that probably wasn't right. I need to lock in on some more game film.
Coach, let's get it started with recapping these last two games. And after the Butler loss last week, you went on the road to take on Pratt. And we've talked about it at times this year, but a team that has only lost 4 games this season. But I think one of the big and probably underappreciated factors or aspects of this team is their short memory, their ability to bounce back. And it seems like this team does a great job of the loss to Hutch immediately responding, and then the loss to Cloud County bouncing back, and then the loss to the Butler Grizzlies, and you bounce back, and then again losing to Butler, and you win your next 2. So I think this team does a good job. We've talked about all the time in a 30-game college basketball season. So rare to see a team that goes 35-0 and wins the whole thing. That doesn't happen very often. Nearly every team slips up from time to time, and every team in the Jayhawk this year has slipped up. But I think a trait of a championship caliber team is being able to get back on track quickly, and I think this team displayed that again after that Butler loss, going on the road to beat Pratt.
I always think sometimes there's good wins, there's bad wins, good losses, bad losses. And I thought the losses we've had this year were good losses for us. It just kind of got us back to being a little more humble, and our attention to detail kind of got lost a little because we had went on that 11-game win streak. And, Butler has a very talented team. Cloud's a very talented team. Hutch, all of them. Every team in the conference is pretty, a lot of great coaches here, and they do their work. And we just, like I said, we just got to continue to battle and just control the little things. And I thought, like I said, with that long win streak, we just kind of lost focus on the little things.
Well, and you said it, Coach. I think that obviously, you look at the scheme, the grand scheme of it, and it could end up being a net positive for this group because when you're 23-4, if you're Hutch or Dodge, when you're 26-3 at this stage of the year, you haven't had many days where you wake up and you're upset about what happened the night before. That doesn't happen very often when you're at the spot that you're at, and that's kudos to the girls for working hard in practice every day and handling their business on the floor. But you talk about, obviously, the loss to Hutch was after, I believe, an 8-0, 9-0 start to the year. And then the loss to Butler was coming out of the winter break, maybe kind of, got everybody back on track in the right mental space. And losing to Cloud was the only game you've lost at Nellis Hall all year. And maybe that kind of got the girls thinking, okay, if we don't come ready to play, we can lose at home. And then you lose to Butler after an 11-game winning streak. I think you hit the nail on the head in the sense that nobody wants to lose. But these 4 losses have come at times where you could say that these losses have kind of reignited that fire in this team and in this program where all of a sudden it's in that locker room they're thinking, okay, we got to get back to it. We got to get back on track. And we've even heard that from your players, Coach, after some of these games being like, look, we got to put in high effort in practice. We got to keep going, keep pushing each other every single day. And you can tell that, these losses, even though there's only been 4 of them, it upsets them, and that's a good thing.
Well, we have a team full of players that's been on winning programs, and they know how it takes. They know what it takes to win. They know all the little details, the hard work it takes. And, you got the bullseye on your back. And this group has been phenomenal about just being able to handle those moments, and because they're used to winning, they don't like to lose. They're very competitive. I mean, they show up to practice on time. I mean, this has been one of the funnest groups to coach. I get on them and I keep my foot on the gas pedal, but it's all because of love, and they don't want it any other way. This team this is their DNA. This is who they are, and if I start getting soft, they don't appreciate it.
Well, and talk about, obviously, I know you've had good relationships with all of your teams in the 3 seasons I've been here, but talk about, having players like that are so competitive that they want you to push them as far as they can go and as hard as you'll push them. And then at the same time, we've seen countless players on this roster just, be up in your office cracking jokes during the day. And so to have that balance of knowing when it's time to take care of business and knowing when it's time to get on the court and get better, but at the same time having that good player-coach relationship off the court and having players that trust you and having, players that you trust and stuff like that. I mean, that's obviously credit to the program, but talk about coaching a team like that.
Well, I last night after the game, I was sitting there and watching film, and I text Carly, who's a very hard-working kid. I'm watching film on her, and I said, no, I coach you hard, but I have all the faith in the world of you. I'm very proud of you, and wouldn't want to do it any other way, and just got big dreams for her because she's a very hard-working kid. And her response back, no, Coach, thank you. I appreciate every bit of it. And that just goes a long ways that she knows it's all out of love, and I want her to be one of the best, and she knows to be one of the best, it takes a lot of hard work and someone that just keeps it real with her.
Absolutely. And after the win over Pratt back at home last night, like you said, to take on Seward County, and Seward was down some players, but I thought a big factor in that game early was they have that guard trio of Gordon and Hunt and then Marchino, the coach's daughter, who very talented scorers are all 3 of them. And you got early on, Avery Marchino got in some foul trouble, had 2 in that first quarter, and then picked up her 3rd early in the second half, and really felt like she was kind of playing out of sync all night because she couldn't get kind of into a rhythm out on the floor. And obviously it's just another example of what I think has become a theme for this team this year, and really doing a good job of keying in on the game plan of slowing down other teams' top players.
I thought our coaches did a great job with the scout for Seward, and it helped that we did play them already once, and we kind of knew their tendencies, and our girls actually paid attention to the details on that part, and it made it tough for her. And then, you know, our philosophy is usually if you make it tough for them on offense, it's a ripple effect on that defensive end. And you know, a lot of kids, and I'm fortunate enough where our players don't let our offense dictate their defense. And, you know, a lot of kids in this society, they let their offense dictate who they are and what about the defensive end. And we've been blessed with a group of kids that understand that balance of defense wins championship.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, you see that with the way that the top teams in this league play. The Butlers, the Hutches, the Dodge Cities. Cowie's on a roll right now. But I think that, you know, in these the thing that these top 5-6 teams in the league have in common, they play very different styles of basketball. But like you said, they come every single night when the ball is tipped off, ready to play strong defense. And there's some teams, not just in this league, but around college basketball, from the D1 level down to every level of college basketball, that, like you said, if they're not hitting shots, all of a sudden it can avalanche quickly. And the really elite teams in this conference, Coach, are always in any single game because they always bring that tough defense every night.
Well, defense travels. Offense don't always travel, and we want to make it hard for you. And it's just, again, that's one thing we spend a lot of time on that defensive end, just getting everybody on the same page. The communication side of it is just, and our players are definitely buying into that part of the game.
I think a player that I know we've touched on over the last couple weeks, but maybe had her best game of the year last night was Alexis Parker. It felt like she was a lot more aggressive on the offensive end, Coach. Really, I saw her drive and pull up for a couple mid-range jump shots. I know that's a part of her arsenal, but felt like she was more aggressive getting to her spots and getting those shots. She's one of the best passing forwards, I think, in this league. Her court vision so impressive, and even had 3 block shots, which is an area that this team really hasn't made much of an impact at times this year in terms of blocking shots. She had 3 of them last night, but I know Coach McBride commented on it after the game that a lot of the stuff Alexis doesn't always show up in the box score, but it feels like over this last month, it's starting to show up in the box score a little bit too.
Oh, she's getting a lot of confidence, and as she grows, we grow. And that's a kid that, especially if she's hitting the mid-range shot, you got to respect her, and you can't just sit in there or stay hugged up on our perimeter players. But no, she's moving her feet on defense, you know, getting herself in better shape every day, and just being just that sophomore leader. You know, it's the glue of the team. You know, if I got an issue with somebody, I talk to Lex and say, hey, you get that fixed. And she does a good job of keeping it real with her teammates, and it's just showing on the court. And her teammates got all the faith in the world of her, and they respect her. And I mean, I can go on and on about Alexis Parker. I mean, her and her sister both they were raised the right way, and they're just fun people and great people.
And we talked about with Aubrey Highshaw after the game just the impact that Alexis brings to the locker room and to that roster. And I know at this point in the year, Coach, that nobody on this team is a freshman anymore. That's just how it goes after 27 games. You all have that experience now. You're all full-time college basketball players at this point. But just to hear from a player like Aubrey in her first year with the program, and for Carly, who I know has been around Alexis her whole life, but a player like Camden or KK Willis or some of these other players, and not just freshmen, but first year in the program. It seems like the common theme around that locker room is, like you said, there are multiple leaders on this team, but what Alexis Parker brings to this team is so much more than just the points and rebounds on the floor.
Oh, it goes a long ways, and we got lucky with this crew. This crew is, like I said, they every day they get closer and closer to each other as far as just being a team and just taking the concept that we've been talking about all year since day one, being one, playing as one, playing together, win as a team, lose as a team. You know, after the Butler game, I called a timeout, and we didn't have one. My coaches even told me we didn't have any timeouts, and I even went in there and said, hey, it's my bad, and they all stepped up like, no, Coach, it ain't your fault. It was our fault, so our team fault. So at the end of the day, that's what's so great about this team. They're very humble, and they understand what it's all about.
Absolutely. And, Coach, before we start moving forward to this matchup with Dodge City coming up on Saturday, we talked about Aubrey coming back from injury, and I know she kind of got eased back into it a little bit, came off the bench, maybe didn't play the full amount of minutes that she would normally play in a full game, but came back and really didn't have much rust to kick off. 10 points, 11 rebounds, thought she was really aggressive. I thought she did a good job on the glass. I thought your team did a great job on the glass. That was a point of emphasis, and I thought they handled it well. But Aubrey back in the lineup and didn't take very long to make an impact.
Oh, she's definitely an impact player, and again, she gives us depth at that position. She can score it. She's very athletic. She can guard. She can do a lot of things out there, and it just helps us with that comfortability of having that extra body out there that can just do different things. And she's starting to get herself in better shape. She's starting to understand our system and our demands of what we expect of her. And I think the sky's the limit for Aubrey.
Absolutely, it is. I completely agree. Lady Ravens are 23-4 with 2 games left in the regular season. They'll travel out to Western Kansas on Saturday afternoon to take on the Dodge City Conquistadors in their final road game of the regular season. Let's take a quick 2-minute timeout. When we come back, we'll start talking about that matchup with Dodge City. Don't go anywhere. We're back on the Red Raven Coaches Show live from Wendy's in 2 minutes here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. Back here on the Red Raven Coaches Show, Shane Neal hanging out with head coach Tony Turner of the Lady Ravens, getting ready for this matchup with the Dodge City Conquistadors coming up on Saturday. And Coach obviously took care of business at home against Seward in a game that meant a lot. 3rd place against 5th place. Seward was fighting for that first-round bye. You were able to lock up that first-round bye. Obviously, the seeding can move around a little bit, but you are now guaranteed to have a first-round bye and then a home game in the quarterfinals, which I know at the start of the year, every single coach in the Jayhawk, doesn't matter how you get there, that's what you want to get to in this league.
Oh, it's huge. That extra, with all the travel we have going on and that extra weekend of rest goes a long ways. Actually, and plus it helps you get prepared for the next opponent. So we'll take full advantage of this opportunity to just rest up, get healed up, and get us all back on the right track. So far as getting ready into that playoff mode, survival mode now.
Well, and you talked about, I think that, excuse me, everybody talks about the fatigue of the teams that play on Saturday and then play again on Tuesday, and having that quick turnaround in terms of on the court, and that is a part of it, but I think you're right. I think the big fatigue factor comes from travel. I mean, there are teams that could end up the 9, 10, 11 seed, coach, that have to travel 4 or 5 hours on Saturday just to go back home for a day and then travel again 4 or 5 hours on Tuesday. That's a lot of time on a bus to just kind of sit there and in a 3-day stretch. And like you said, being able to have a couple extra days to rest, a couple extra days to practice, and then you get to focus on your team for a couple days. Then when you know your opponent, you can start focusing on your opponent and kind of have a normal routine. And I think the mental side of basketball is so big. And I think for these players and these girls to have that ability to sleep in their own beds and go through their normal routine, I think that's a huge part of this too, not just playing in front of a home crowd.
Oh yes, that goes a long ways. I mean, back when I was younger, I used to get to go stay in a hotel. Now I kind of hate it. I'm like, man, I want to be in my own bed with my own pillows, but I know our players are the same way, and just the comfortability, and then being at home, getting shots up, and not having to be on these long. We take enough of these long road trips as it is. In fact, it'll be on one tomorrow morning, all the way out to Dodge City, So, but no, it'll be great. Get to play at home.
No doubt it will. And of course, you mentioned Dodge City, and that's the matchup this weekend. And the Conquistadors came to Nellis Hall last month and fell at 63-60 in that game. Carly Parker with the game-winning 3 with about 2 seconds to go. Coach, at that game, I thought you played very well defensively, forced turnovers, got Layla J. Cameron in some early foul trouble, and really it felt like had Dodge City, a team that's so meticulous on the offensive end, playing a little bit flustered. I don't want to say they were playing, just poorly on that end of the floor, but you could tell that they were playing in a style that they don't want to play necessarily. And what's going to be the key? Obviously, they're going to make adjustments. You're going to make adjustments. But going out to their place, having another successful day on the defensive end.
Well, they're pretty healthy from the looking on the film, watching them play Independence last night. We'll have to, play really physical. We'll have to definitely keep them off the boards. We want to get out and go. We got to make some shots, because they'll probably, I don't know if they'll still play that zone. I know they've been playing a zone. So we'll have to step up and make some shots. They're pretty long and athletic, and they kind of get you all spread out. And we just can't just settle for threes. We got to attack them, attack the paint, and get some inside-out action. But I think the key of it, last year we played them. They went 23 of 35 from the three-point line, and you know what I mean. So we'll have nightmares of that. But no, we'll have to get out and get our big girl pants on and go and go play some basketball.
Well, and I don't think by any means. That's interesting. I never knew that. If somebody calls this phone, I guess it picks up on the air. How about that?
Okay.
You're not supposed to be able to call this phone, so that was an adventure for everybody. But Coach, I think that obviously I don't think that the Conquistadors rolled into Nellis Hall taking you lightly, taking that game for granted. But the science and the mental side of basketball, they lost that game at the end in heartbreaking fashion, and they're going to go into this weekend and trying to prove a point, trying to get payback, and try. You talk all the time about the teams that get you the first time around. We got to get our little pay, but get our get back, and they're going to be trying to do that. So it's not just. You're going to be playing Dodge City, and I think they bring their best out almost every single night. But you're going to be getting their best shot. They're going to be coming out swinging, try to make sure they split the season series.
Well, and I appreciate our fans. They are great. And at that game we played Dodge, they had the baseball team.
That crowd was incredible.
And they helped us get this victory. Well, at the end, as we were walking through shaking hands, I was watching film today, and I noticed that our players, well, not our players, the football team, baseball team were yelling, overrated. And their coach was like raising their hands, and he was yelling at his girls. You hear that? Yep. So I'm sure he's going to try to use that as some motivation to get his team all fired up. Just how we handle it is just part of what it is, and it is what it is.
Absolutely it is. And Coach, obviously a lot of these teams in the Jayhawk are led by really talented point guards, and Dodge has ton of great shooters, a ton of great post players, good forwards, but really none of that matters if you don't have that player that can kind of bring it all together. And they went out and got Constantina Manziori out of the transfer portal, and she's been running the point for them all year. Not much of a scorer, about 8 points a game, 7-8, so she can score when she needs to, but I believe is averaging about 5-6 assists a game, doesn't turn the ball over a ton, good free throw shooter, so she's an opportune scorer, and she's really the catalyst that makes this Dodge City offense go.
Mm-hmm. They got a lot of weapons, and we just want to definitely run them off the line and try to keep them in front of us. And, as I was watching them play, a couple other teams are starting to get the ball more inside, so we're going to have to really wall up and be strong and not let them get so deep in the paint. as far as posting us up on the block. So we definitely going to have to play really come strategically and play smart and play physical to beat them at Dodge.
Shauna Preston is having one heck of a year, Coach. She's the reigning player of the week in this league, averaging about 15 points as well as 10 rebounds and 3 assists a game. She's one of probably their top forward, and they also have the Independence transfer in Maureen Doso. But obviously 2 different players there. But Preston, I was on this team last year, was an impact player. But now she is a big bold letter circle on the scouting report, one of the top players in this league, and she's playing her best basketball of her career right now. So she's going to be a key matchup to try and slow down on Saturday.
No, she can score at all 3 levels. She's quick, can shoot it, so you got to be able to be smart. We got to bottle her up. And also she got a good supporting cast around her that can shoot it, and they can also take you off the bounce. So we got to be pretty smart, and just again, when they shoot it, we got to win the rebounding battle and keep them to one and done, and not let them get second and third opportunities. And we got to definitely control her because she is very, 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 very talented.
A lot of people talk about the Conquistador offense, and deservedly so. Obviously, a lot of top of the league in a lot of categories, but I think their defense is an underrated aspect of their game too, and I don't know if it's underrated. I think it's just not talked about enough because of the offense. But very active hands, play a very similar kind of style of defense to Coffeyville, and trying to force turnovers, get their hands in the passing lanes, maybe a little bit more bodies down low to block some shots. But if you're not careful with making crisp passes and executing on the offensive end, Dodge City and absolutely a team that can take advantage of it and get some points in transition as well.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to give up any touchdown passes, and I thought we gave away a couple yesterday, and those touchdown turnovers where they get a steal and they get able to go down and make a layup. We got to limit those, and we got to make them earn everything they get. And if we can make them earn everything they get, I like we have a better chance going out there and stealing one on the road.
Absolutely. Coach, I know that you and Coach Steele at Dodge City have a great relationship. I know you've been friends really since his first year or two in the league. And I asked you about it before the matchup at Nellis Hall, but Coach Steele in his 4th year just had his 100th career win at Dodge City the other day, his 200th win as a head coach already. It feels like he's still very young in his career and already hitting some pretty big milestones, but a lot of great coaches in this league. But what do you see when you go into a matchup with Landon Steele about what he brings to this conference, and why has he been able to have so much success so quickly in the Jayhawk?
Oh, he knows he has a great relationship with his players. He knows how to get them working hard. I mean, he's got a great X's and O mindset. In fact, I talked to him today and like, hey, we'll be out tomorrow. Why don't you come get me? We'll go have some ice cream so I can pick your brain and try to learn some of his knowledge, because he is he's a great coach, and a nice guy, and does a great job. And he's a great recruiter. He just knows the game, and I'm always, I've been in the league for a long time, and I'm still trying to learn. And why not try to pick his brain, and maybe he can give me some tips on to help me be as successful as he is.
It's funny you say that, because I heard Jordan Bailey say it earlier this year that Coach Herc's always kind of picking people's brains about certain plays and certain ideas and certain philosophies, and he said something along the lines of, if Coach Herc, after 30 years and a national title and a Hall of Fame induction, still trying to learn about the game, then everybody can learn about the game. And I think it's funny that you say that, because I completely agree. The best coaches from your Division I all the way down to your high school state champion legends, to your NBA coaches, your WNBA coaches, the coaches that never lose the passion and the coaches that are always trying to learn are the ones that seem to have the long, successful careers.
Well, even when I go recruit and go out and scout or recruit, I'm always looking to see if there's a baseline out of bounds play that I can pick up, or an offense I can pick up. And like I said, I always tell people, they ask me when I'm going to retire, I said, well, I'm going to retire when I think I know it all. And I don't think I still have a lot to learn. So I don't know when I'll retire. Maybe 85 years old if Coffee will keep me around out there still trying to learn stuff. So.
I know there's a lot of Red Raven fans that are hoping that day is no time soon. But, Coach, as we put a bow on this half of the show and get ready to talk to Coach Herc, I know that it's going to take a complete team effort to beat Dodge City. It's going to take a full 40-minute performance, just like it did at Nellis Hall. And it's going to take executing in a lot of different areas. But if you had to pick one or two key X factors that you think are really going to dictate who wins this game, what does this team have to do on Saturday to try and go 2-0 against Dodge?
There's there's more than just two.
There's a lot more than two.
But I think if we can just keep them off the boards and just match their physicality, if we can do that, we're going to both make shots. You know what I mean? We're both going to have turnovers. We're both going to scheme up the things, but the team who keeps each other off the boards and who's going to play the most physical is going to probably win the game.
You heard it right there. Lady Ravens heading out, looking for win number 24 of the season as they take on the Dodge City Conquistadors this weekend. Final road game of the regular season, I believe, unless I'm looking at the schedule incorrectly, Coach. I believe this is your last true road game of the year, because the rest of the year it would be Nellis, and the neutral site.
Yep.
So this is the last true road game of the year, not the last road trip you're going to have to make, but the last time you're going to have to play in hostile territory here in the 2024-25 season, and obviously looking to make it a big statement win over the Dodge City Conquistadors, and we look forward to that trip and that game coming up on Saturday. But we got Coach Herkelman coming up next. Let's take a 2-minute timeout. We'll shift focus over to the men's side right after this. We're back in 2 minutes here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. Red Raven Coaches Show here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. There we go. Running my own commercials, Coach. It's a little bit of bumpy skies sometimes, but we're back here with Coach Jay Herkelman as we shift focus to the men's team. And like I said at the start of the show, Coach, with games on the last 2 Thursdays and everything that's moved around this week, been kind of weird, but good to be back to normal this week, and good to be talking about a 4-game winning streak as well.
Yeah, it was one thing that was really nice was after we got the win out there at Pratt, being able to look at the week ahead and know that we had a Sunday off. And I told the guys, I said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not doing anything tomorrow. And I knew they didn't either. And then having a normal week this week, with practice and Monday and Tuesday and the game Wednesday. And then, just our normal routine. It was pretty nice.
And I tell obviously what a dramatic change in the environment, where last week against Butler, 6 inches of snow on the ground and slick roads, free coffee just to get in the door. And yesterday the doors were propped open in warm-ups because of how nice it was outside. So
it's crazy what happened in a week around here. It's Midwest weather.
I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, Coach, but I know me and Coach Turner are ready for the 60s to stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine what it is right now, that's for sure.
But obviously 2 wins this week over Pratt and Seward, and 2 wins in, I think, 2 different ways. Where against Pratt, I don't think maybe there were certain times in the game where the team didn't execute at the level that you would have hoped, but I don't think it was a bad performance. I thought Pratt did a great job of keeping it close and chipping away when your team tried to pull away a couple times in that game, and had to kind of survive on the road and make some big shots late and make some big plays late. And then against Seward County, it was a team that hit shots early, built up a lead, and held that lead for 35 minutes. So 2 different styles of wins, but 2 impressive wins nonetheless for a team that really is just trying to find a way to get a W anytime they take the court.
Yeah, I mean, that game against Pratt, it was the 4th game in a week. And it's not like we played bad. It was just our energy level wasn't where it's been. The Butler game, we played really well. For 40 minutes, I thought we played really good basketball. And then just a short little practice on Friday and make the trip out to Pratt and play an afternoon game. And they had a lot to do with it. They've got good guards. They got the good big fella on the inside. It was a close game throughout, but we weren't playing bad. We just weren't as energized as we had been. And then, like I said, we took the day off on Sunday. It had been over a week since we'd had a day off, and being able to re-energize last night. Pratt tried to do this, Seward tried to do the same thing they did out there, was slow the ball game down, limit the possessions. But thankfully, Brian hit some shots early, going, I think, 4 for 4 in the first half from 3, and other guys got some things going, and so we built up a nice lead. And so that little stall ball that they were playing wasn't as effective as it was out at their place.
Right, and you had talked about, obviously, before the game that you were going to try to speed them up on the defensive end, and I know Kiku Parker didn't end up playing for them, and so they had a redshirt freshman at point guard that really hadn't had a ton of minutes this year, and obviously this is a good defense and has been all year long, but it felt like Seward, on a lot of possessions, they were, like you said, using the full shot clock, but it felt like it wasn't using 22 seconds and then having a design play. A lot of those possessions were 3-4 seconds on the shot clock. They were having to just throw something up. I thought the defense did a really good job of making them uncomfortable for most of that game.
Yeah, and we did try to press. I mean, we were pressing. We were doing some trapping. But they, we were hoping that they were going to, when they got across half court, go on the attack and play into it. And I got to give them credit. They had good discipline. They got it across half court, and then they stand out there and dribble the basketball for the next 15 seconds. And, and then there was kind of a little scramble play. Sometimes there'd be a ball screen. Sometimes the guy would just try to play one-on-one. And then it's just a matter of going and getting that rebound. And we did a good job of that the first half. Not as good the second half of rebounding the first miss. But, that's what the game was last night. It was a different type of game. Thankfully we have a shot clock in college. Otherwise, that would have been a real boring game.
Yeah, that's a style of basketball that's tough on a play-by-play guy sometimes.
Yeah, I bet it is. Point
guard dribbles. Right. But I thought, obviously, you mentioned the rebounding, and in that second half especially, they had a freshman, Loic Afuman, who he brought out his inner Daniel Tomboy in that second half. He was just all over the boards, and he was an impressive player, Coach. I don't know, in 40 minutes what you saw from him and what you thought, but I think he finished that game with 14 points, 12 rebounds, something like that. But good frame at about 6'7", and about a 190, and didn't really play a ton until the second semester. But I think Coach Hernandez might have found himself a nice little forward there in Afuman.
Yeah, he's been playing really good. Probably in the last month, he's really been coming on. And to do what he did on the boards against Daniel, for the most part, because Daniel's one of the best rebounders in the conference, and Daniel and I had some conversations about it, and Daniel was as surprised as anybody that he wasn't getting some of those balls. But that guy is a little bit bigger. He's long, but it's just one of those nights where, it's not like Daniel had a bad game. He had 12 points, 6 for 6 from the floor, and had 8 rebounds. Loic, or I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, he had a heck of a ball game for him. But he's been playing well lately.
Yeah, and I thought another game where we've talked about it now, really, I think ever since the Cowie game, now 5 good performances in a row from Justin Taylor. He's getting that jump shot down, hit 3 threes last night. And just looks more aggressive on the offensive end, Coach. And maybe that's not the best way to phrase that, because I think Justin's a pretty naturally aggressive player. but more aggressive with his shot selection. I think he definitely seems more comfortable on that end of the floor, where he feels a lot more confident that those jump shots are going in. And if Justin's hitting the mid-range, Justin's hitting the three-point shot. I mean, this offense goes from scoring 65, 70 a game to being able to put up 80, 85 a night.
Yeah, without question. His confidence is back. Last few games has really had it going. That spell where he had a couple of weeks where he just wasn't playing as well, and I think his shoulder was bothering him a little bit more than what he was letting on. And then he didn't play against Choach. And, since then, with the rehab, he's doing more of that. He's doing more rehab work, and he's feeling strong, and his confidence is high right now. And him hitting 3 threes last night, like you said, I mean, Brian a lot of times has been the only guy that's been hitting threes in recent games, and we got to have a few more guys. And if Justin can do it and get Trent back in there doing it, and then somebody off the bench hit 1 or 2, that definitely helps.
No doubt it does. And I know you had talked about obviously Justin's shoulder injury a couple weeks ago, and knock on wood, obviously, with 5-6 games left in the season. But for the most part this year, this team's been pretty healthy. There's been a couple guys that have missed some stretches here and there, but I do know that Charles Caparasso got banged up and didn't play last night. But I know it's a foot injury. But what's the latest you can tell us on him and his timetable?
Yeah, he didn't turn an ankle. It's more of a mid-foot sprain. Happened in practice on Monday. Tried to go a little bit Tuesday, couldn't. Was out obviously last night. Didn't do much today. It could be. I don't see him playing Saturday. I'm hoping that with the time off and some treatment, he's going to be able to go next Wednesday when we play Barton County.
Yeah, that would be obviously nice to get him just even 10, 12 minutes before.
And that hurt us last night, not having him in there. He's been rebounding the ball better and just being able to give Rashid a break. And so at times we were subbing Relia in there, and, the big fella for Seward, he's a load. And he's a load for Rashid. And trying to do it with Relia out there, that was kind of difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously, like you said, it's kind of an unorthodox spot for Relia, but I think it speaks credit to his athleticism and his versatility that a guy that's probably a natural 4 and maybe closer to a 3 than a 5 has at times this year when Rashid's gotten in foul trouble or Rashid's been banged up or Charles has been banged up, slid down to that 5 spot and given you some valuable minutes. I think back to the Independence game, Coach, where Charles and Rashid both picked up 2 fouls very early in that game, and Relia played about 18 straight minutes out there, so he obviously, I know if you could pick, you wouldn't have him at the 5 very often, but it is a luxury to know that he can do it in a pinch.
Yeah, and the one thing that goes along with that is Daniel is, a strong player. So if there is a bigger body, Daniel can usually match up pretty good, even though he's 6'5", but he's strong and he's very aggressive, and he don't mind mixing it up with people.
He may be 6'5" on the roster sheet, but he plays 6'8".
Yeah, he does. He definitely does.
You mentioned I saw a play from Daniel last night. You mentioned he went 6 from 6 from the field, but I saw a play where he got the ball out on the left wing, one-on-one with his defender, kind of went ISO, beat him on the left side, got to the paint, got to the rim, and laid it in with the right hand. And I know we had talked about at times, you talking about some of the best forwards, wings in this league, in Brett Moss at Barton County, and Antonio Choach at Garden City. And you said, Daniel Tomboy has all the talent, all the skill to be one of those guys. He just needs to be more aggressive scoring the basketball. And I saw that play, and I saw a little bit of a glimpse of maybe a more aggressive Daniel Tomboy on the offensive end.
We've been talking about it, talking about him just picking his spots, being a little more aggressive, having a mindset to attack, and he's starting to figure out where he can do that and where it's best for him to be able to get those angles. And last night, 6 for 6. He's finishing a lot better. There was a couple games where he got around the basket and he was missing some shots. He's pretty frustrated with himself, but he's sure doing a better job of finishing when he gets around the rim.
Brian Griffith, in his last 3 games, 34, 23, 26. He's averaging 22 a game in the month of February. And, Coach, I told Coach Bailey last night about 2 weeks ago, I call Brian Griffith the best microwave scorer in the Jayhawk Conference. When he gets going, I don't know if there's anybody better when he's on. In these last 6-7 games, he has gone from, he's always been a good scorer. He's always been a key part of this team and this offense. But in this last 6-7 games, Coach, he's been a top 5 or 6 player in this league. And he's been maybe the best scorer in the Jayhawks since the calendar turned over to February.
Yeah, I text out some information to some Division I assistant coaches that I know about the way that Brian's been playing, and when I was looking at the numbers, it's pretty impressive. Last 4 games he's had 20, 34, 24, 26, and he's shooting 45% from 3, and that's with going 1 for 6 out at Pratt on Saturday when he was tired. He wasn't feeling well before the game, and I think the whole week had caught up to him, and he wasn't doing well, feeling well before the game started, but he still had 24 out there on a bad shooting night.
And the game winner.
Well, exactly. Hit the game winner. And, man, he's just he's playing with a lot of confidence now, but he's putting in the work. That's the thing, that he's in the gym every morning. He's got a certain shooting routine that he does. He does it in the morning. He doesn't waste his time. He comes in, he does his work. He gets out, he goes to class, and then after practice he does his shooting routine, and then later on at night. And so it's just paying off. His confidence is high. My confidence in him is high, and his teammates also. They've got a lot of confidence in him.
And before we shift to talking about Dodge City, the last thing I kind of want to talk about, and maybe you have a different opinion than me, but early in the season we had talked so much about what made this team so dangerous is that a different guy could step up every single night. And then I think there was a stretch in that 3-game losing streak, and at times in the month of January where it was sometimes waiting for Brian or Justin to make a play. Or Rashid, or one of those 3 or 4 guys, and now it feels like really in the last 4 games in this winning streak, Coach, we're getting back to the point where Trent's hit some big shots, and Justin's hit some big shots, Brian's hit some big shots, Daniel's hit some big shots, had some huge plays at the end of that Pratt game. We've seen Rashid have his moments. Charles has played great as of late. Relly has had some big minutes for you. It just feels like we're getting back to that mindset and that philosophy of anybody can step up and contribute to a win any given night.
Yeah, when we get multiple guys, 4+ guys in double figures, that's when we're obviously at our best, and we have the talent to be able to do that. We have the depth to be able to do that. One thing I would like to see is our bench give us a little bit more than what they're giving us coming in the game. We need KP to get going again from the 3-point line. I thought KUSN played really well last night. Defensively, I thought he was really good, and he moved the ball well. He played a lot of minutes in the second half, but he's another guy that needs to knock down a shot or 2 from the perimeter. He did late. He hit a 3 late. But yeah, we need those guys to step up a little bit to go along with basically the first 5 that are doing pretty good.
Red Ravens, 2 games left in the regular season, will look to continue their winning ways. They take on Dodge City on Saturday in the final road game of the regular season. Let's take a quick 2-minute timeout. We'll start talking about the matchup with Dodge coming up next here on the Red Raven Coaches Show, live from Wendy's on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. Red Raven Coaches Show here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network as we wrap up this show talking about the matchup with the Dodge City Conquistadors coming up on Saturday afternoon. And you beat Dodge City 80-67 in the matchup at Nellis Hall, Coach. But really it was a tale of two halves in that game. First half, absolutely outstanding. You got off to a 25-point lead. Really dominated down low. Dodge City has some good players, but not as much depth down low, and this team took advantage of that early. But combination of maybe a little bit of foot off the gas in the second half, and then Dodge really came out firing in that second half, and they made a game of it late in that game at Nellis. So it's going to have to be a full 40 minutes on Saturday.
For sure. Yeah, just what you said. We had a really good first half. We were up 20-some points at halftime. Then we went, I think it was 1 for 13 from 3 in the second half. Shots that we made the first half, didn't make the second half. Dodge City started making theirs. They ended up making 10 threes in the game. But when I was reviewing the game from the last time we played them, Rashid had 20 or 22 points and double-figure rebounds. Daniel had a double-double. I think Daniel might have had 13 rebounds. Yeah, obviously they play four guards and one forward, and we wanted to try to take advantage of that on the inside. The other thing when I was watching the game tape from that first one was it was a fast-paced game, and these guys really they like to play fast as we do. When they're at home, they can really score, and we're going to have to do a great job with our transition defense. Because, they get the ball out in a hurry. They're getting it down the floor. They're trying to get to the rim. If they can't, they're getting in the paint, kicking it out for a quick three. So I'm anticipating it being a pretty fast-paced game. Yeah,
and they have, some really impressive wins since that game. They lost a close game to Hutch, lost a close game to Garden, but then beat Cali by 25. And beat Butler by 19 at the power point.
The next game, yeah, they beat Cali by 25 at home. I think it was around 100-75, which was unbelievable. And I checked to make sure all Cali's players were playing, and they did.
Yeah.
And because at that time, I didn't know if they had some sickness going on or hurt, but they had all their guys. Then they followed up by going over to Butler and winning by 20. And, they're just a team that has the capability of just putting up a lot of points and being very aggressive and being very disruptive.
And even since that game, obviously they lost a close one to Barton on the road in Great Bend, lost a close one to Fort Hays Tech, who there might not be a hotter team in the conference than Fort Hays Tech now.
No doubt.
But then beat Colby and beat Independence here in their last two. And we talked about this before the game at Nellis, Coach, but maybe the weirdest inverted home road record I've ever seen from a basketball team. They're 9-4 on the road this year, a really tough road team. They go constant. A lot of their big wins are on the road this year, but just 2-10 at home. One of those two wins is a 25-point win over Cali, but it's just very strange because with a lot of teams, it's the other way around. It's not 9-4 at home and you struggle on the road. That's the normal thing. So just a very strange kind of situation that they've been in this year where it feels like at times they can't win at home.
It's hard to explain. It just is. Everybody feels more comfortable when they're playing on their home floor. You're in your routine. You're used to your surroundings. Yeah, it's just hard to explain.
It's very odd, but obviously, like you mentioned, this Dodge City team playing some really good basketball as of late, and a big part of that is the duo of young guards that they have in Derek Rivers and Minor Strong, who are both playing really well as of late, and they're both just true freshmen, so could be back next year and form one of the best duos in the conference. But in their last 4-6 weeks or so, both are averaging double figures, and both have really been good catalysts in leading this Dodge City program. And let me see if I can pull up their full numbers. It took me to the conference website. I thought they'd just have it on their team website. But,
Rivers had a really good game against us the first time.
He did, and but it's two guys, Coach, that like a lot of freshmen do in that first matchup. Maybe we're kind of still getting accustomed to the Jayhawk Conference, but it feels like in this last month they've gotten accustomed to the Jayhawk Conference, and now it's just two really good guards that lead that offense.
Yeah, at this point, even if you're a freshman, you got enough experience now playing in this league against good people, and as you and I talk about all the time, just the good guards that you got to face every single night when you're playing. you're well seasoned now, even if you are a freshman, and those two guys are playing at a high level.
Yeah, Rivers averaging 12 a game on the year, and Minor Strong averaging 15. Very impressive shooting splits, 42% from the floor, 40% from three. And then, of course, like you said, it's a very guard-heavy team. They have a sophomore in Keyshawn Brown, a sophomore in Jace Boatwright, a sophomore in Jamari Gamble that are both contributors as well. But not a ton down low. They have a 6'9" forward that's a freshman out of Australia, and another forward in John Charles that's a freshman as well. But it is a team that's very, for the most part, 6'5" and shorter. So in that first matchup, like you said, Kuda, Tomboy, Caparasso all had big games. Now probably down Charles on Saturday, but an opportunity for Rashid, Daniel, maybe Relia off the bench to maybe be the X factors in that game.
Yeah, we're going to go in with the same game plan. Obviously, we're going to try to get that ball in there to those guys, try to take advantage of that stuff early. I know that they're probably going to have a plan for it. They might start doubling them, which Spoon doesn't normally do, but with the success we had the last time, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. They did play us some zone last time, so we'll have to be ready for that. But, at home, I know that I've watched their games, and they've lost some, but, man, they get up and down the floor in a hurry.
Coach, I'm always curious. I always like hearing your and Coach Turner's thoughts on the different coaches around this league because there are so many good ones.
Yep.
But Coach Witherspoon now been around in the league for a long enough time where there's kind of an expectation with his teams and with his program. In a great season. My first year out here, he had the best team in the league,
right.
Led by Jason Edwards, who's now at Vanderbilt. And then the last year, struggled a little bit, had a really tough schedule, got off to a slow start, and kind of were a middle-of-the-pack team. And then this year started slow again, but feels like they're finding their stride. But in your matchups with Coach Witherspoon and Dodge City, while the players and the personnel change, what are some of the constants of Conquistador basketball in these last 3-4 seasons?
Just the good guards. Spoon, he gets good guards in there. He gives them a lot of freedom. Those guys can play free out there. They're very aggressive. They can take some shots that may make some other coaches upset about things, but they're also going to make those shots. And he's going to try to play as fast as he can. And defensively, they're going to be very disruptive. They got when you got four guards out there, you're going to play very aggressive and try to get up in you and stuff. And we got to be able to handle that. We did a pretty good job of that here. We got to do it on the road now.
Coach, I asked Coach Turner the same question to end the first part of the show, and I know that there's a lot more than one or two things that it's going to take to beat a team like Dodge City on the road on Saturday. But if you had to pick, in order to go for win number 5 in a row and win number 22 on the year, one or two key X factors that you think are going to decide who wins this game and who loses this game, what does your team have to do on Saturday to beat Dodge?
We got to be really good with our transition defense on misses and makes. And then, just rebounding the ball, which we got out-rebounded by Seward. We don't get out-rebounded by many teams, but we got out-rebounded by Seward, and that's been a point of emphasis. It was today at our workout and in our conversation after the game against Seward. They know that. But it's not always just relying on Rashid and Daniel in that area, our guards, because we play 3 guards. Those guards got to get down there and help us. Like I say, I was a little irritated with Daniel just because his guys seemed to be getting some rebounds, but he still had 8. That's a pretty good night.
Yep.
And the guards got to get down there, and they got to help us more. So our transition defense, it's got to be really good. And then when that ball goes to the rim, we got to make sure we're rebounding the first miss, because if we give them multiple chances at it, they're going to be awfully hard to beat.
Last true road game of the year for the Red Ravens. They head on the road to take on Dodge City in the final Saturday game of the regular season. Coach Jay Herkelman good enough to join us here on the Red Raven Coaches Show, and team going for win number 22 of the year in their 5th in a row. All about just playing the best ball of the year right now, Coach.
Yep, that's what it is.
And we appreciate Wendy's for having us each and every week. We will have a show next week to get ready for the postseason. We'll know the matchups. We'll know, I guess, the bracket at that point.
Right.
And we'll talk about that matchup coming up at Nellis, and then we'll put a bow on it after the season's over as well. But a big thanks to Wendy's. Big thanks to Blaine and Amber for helping us out as always. Big thanks to Scott Maples back in the studio. That does it here for us from the Red Raven Coaches Show. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network.